Welcome to the Awesomer Gossamer Shawl tutorial. We're going to learn how to do the I-cord cast on for the Awesomer Gossamer Shawl. It starts at the top center, and I'm going to show you how to increase, how to marl your mohair colors together, and how to weave in ends as you knit. And I'll also show you that bubble stitch technique for the Awesomer Gossamer section 2. You can skip ahead in this video at any time using the timestamps linked down below to watch the bubble technique or any of the weaving in ends techniques that I use for the shawl. But first you're gonna need 8 colors. This is a large mohair shawl that I designed with our West Wool Glow Hair yarn. This is a mohair and silk blend that comes in 25-gram balls. So you're gonna need 8 colors, and it's a big shawl, so I used 2 balls of each color. It's a really big, fluffy knitting adventure with mohair silk. So 2 balls of each color in 8 shades, and you can do a gradient from light to dark, or work all in one color family, or you could do a whole rainbow explosion for your Awesomer Gossamer shawl. So this is a really lovely, lightweight type of fabric. You're gonna need a US 5 or 3.75 millimeter needle to knit the shawl, but if you need to change your needle size by going down, if you're a bit looser of a knitter, you can go down a size, or up a size if you're a bit more of a tight knitter. So get a fabric that feels nice and flowy. It shouldn't be too tight or too loose, but this is the fabric we're gonna be knitting in this tutorial. Starting at the top center, when in doubt, you can start with your lightest color of your 8 shades and work your way towards the darkest color, and then the colors are going to repeat their order. So with the Awesomer Gossamer Shawl, I used a fading marl technique where you're holding 2 colors together of lace weight mohair silk, always 2 different colors, 1 strand of each color held together, and then you get this beautiful melted blend as you transition from light to dark. This is the Icy Glow kit that I put together, and this was the shawl that I knit in these beautiful misty blues and grays. So this kit will be 8 shades, 2 balls of each color, and I've been working with this project in the Project 9 bag. This was from Redesign Project, and I love the 2 compartments. So if you've got your balls of mohair, you could have half of them in one compartment and half in the other, and be knitting from the shawl on one side, and then your other colors could be organized and nice and tidy on the other side. So let's take a quick look at some of the color palettes, and then we'll skip ahead to those cast on tutorial techniques and all that fun knits and bubble stitches. But this is one of the kits we have. This is called Flamingo Glow. So this might be what your palette looks like if you work in a warm color family, starting light and transitioning into the darker tones for the Flamingo Glow. So this uses a lot of our creams, apricot peach colors, and our berry reds for the Flamingo Glow. And this is the swatch. If you want to do a swatch with your colors first, that can be a good way to get to know how your colors are going to blend together and getting that right needle size and nice drape in your fabric. These are the swatch instructions where you do garter stitch, and then you can practice that bubble technique, which looks really cool on the wrong side as well. So that's the Flamingo Glow kit. This is the Icy Glow color palette with our West Wool Glow Hair. It's a really soft blend with 64% mohair and 30% silk. So you can really see that shimmery sheen, that shine in the mohair from that core silk thread, and then the mohair is the fluffy fiber surrounding the silk. So this is the Icy Glow. I'm wearing the Earthy Glow. If you want some neutrals, start with the lightest color, white, and go towards some dark browns. And when you're holding 2 strands together, you'll see this during the technique tutorial, it's always 2 colors held together, and then you drop 1 color at a time. So it blends the colors, changing just 1 tone at a time to give that subtle fading marl effect. This is one of our pastel kits with all of our light colors. This one is the Pastel Glow, and this is what it looks like knitted up. We had a lot of fun making these swatches and showing how the colors transform from light into the more saturated tones. And you could work all with some light colors to give that pastel effect. And I'm going to be showing you in this tutorial, I'm going to show you with the purples and neutrals. This is what it's going to look like all knitted up with our warm sandy colors, the purple tones. This one's called Magical Glow, and it's a really nice way to mix in a few of your favorite colors, but then mix in some neutrals. You could choose some grays or browns, and that will give a really beautiful dynamic effect with the Magical Glow worked up in neutrals with a pop. So lots of options to choose from. If you want to make your own palette, you can use anything from Stash, and we're going to cast on together on February 6th for an official knit along month in February, but you can knit at your own pace following this tutorial and discover your own beautiful moody color story, another neutrals with a pop. These are all several of the color palettes we put together for you at Stephen and Penelope. So if you'd like the colors picked out for you, we have all these fun kits available for you at Stephen and Penelope. Pinks and grays, greens and blues, lots of fun colors to try. So let's dive in and cast on with the Awesomer Gossamer start. Let's begin the Awesomer Gossamer Shawl, starting with an I-cord cast on right here, and then we will increase stitches in garter stitch for section 1, working through the 8 colors marled together using the fading marl technique. If you use your colors from light to dark, starting with your lightest color, it will look like this, starting very light and then transitioning into the darkest color, and then the 8th color and the first color will end up repeating and making a high contrast mix like this. So if color A is your lightest color, and then color A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, color H will be your darkest color. Colors H and A will join together to make that high contrast blend. Another color strategy you could use is starting more in the middle and starting with a middle type of contrast, and then going into your light colors, and then going into the dark colors, and then your first color and your last color will be mixed together. So that's what I'm going to do for this little technique tutorial color sequence, starting with Mocha, and then Biscuit, Sand, Sherbet, Unicorn, Fandango, Corduroy, and the Aubergine colorway as my 8th color. Using A and B, we're going to always hold 2 strands of yarn together of lace weight mohair silk, and you can work from the inside or the outside of the ball. At any time during this tutorial, you can skip ahead using the timestamps linked down below to skip ahead to any techniques. I'm going to use my yarns coming from the inside of the yarn ball, but you can also hold them from the outside. Using A and B, 1 strand of each color, cast on 3 stitches using any cast on method that you like. I'm going to do the long tail cast on for my shawl. Knit 3, 1, 2, and 3. Slip 3 stitches onto left needle. Repeat from the asterisk twice more. Knit 3, knit 1, 2, 3, slip 3 stitches onto left needle. Once more, knit 3, and slip 3 onto the left needle. Knit 3, pick up and knit 3 stitches along the I-cord edge. It's really fluffy here, but just dive in to get both legs of that I-cord stitch, and then get 2 more. 1 and 2. There's no right or wrong. As long as you get 3 stitches picked up along that I-cord edge, you'll have 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn to work the wrong side. Next row, wrong side. Pick up and knit 3 stitches along the I-cord cast on edge. So get any 3 strands of yarn. Whenever I'm picking up stitches, I'm trying to get both colors. If it's hard to see because it's so fluffy, just grab some yarn and knit through it at that I-cord cast on edge. 1, I'm gonna get this loose strand right here. Number 2, and just dive down. You can get anything to get started. There we go. We've got 3 stitches on the right needle and 6 stitches on the left needle. Knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and slip the last 3 stitches with yarn in front. 1, 2, 3. You should have 9 total stitches. It's really small at the beginning and lots of fluffy strands held together, so be real careful making sure you always get both colors, both strands, when you're knitting or slipping the stitches. 9 total stitches. Section 1 garter stitch. I'm going to do yarn overs at the edge and make 1 increases in the body of the shawl. If you want to use yarn overs for all of your increases, you could substitute a yarn over instead of a make 1. But I'm going to do yarn overs at the edge and make 1 increases in the middle of the shawl. And that's going to make it look like this. A little bit more smooth and not so holy in the body of the shawl. And then you'll have these holes at the edge for these stretchy yarn overs. Row 1, right side, knit 3, one, and make sure you get both colors. 2, 3, yarn over, knit 1, make 1 twice. Knit 1, make 1 using the backwards loop cast on method. Knit 1, make 1. If you hold the yarn in your right hand, the make 1 will look like this. Twist the yarn and pop it onto the needle. You want to see this little cross. Make 1 using the backwards loop cast on method. After you do that twice, knit 1, yarn over, slip 3 with yarn in front. You need to keep on bringing the yarn forward to get that full yarn over on the right needle. I'm going to do that one more time. If you're holding the yarn in your right hand, you're going to yarn over and keep on bringing the yarn around to the front so you can slip the last 3 with yarn in front. So you want to see 1 yarn over stitch on your right needle before slipping those last 3 stitches. You should have 13 total stitches. Row 2, wrong side. Knit to last 3 stitches. And then slip the last 3 with yarn in front. 1, 2, 3. Break color A. Color A was the first color. That might be your lightest color. In my case, it's this mocha color because I'm going color A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H for this palette. So break color A. If your colors are very close in contrast, it might be hard to see which one is A and B. So look at the balls and go, that's color A, and then trace it. The yarn connected to it. We want to break, leaving a tail about that long. Break color A. And then keep color B attached. Row 3 right side is going to use colors B and C. Row 3 right side, using colors B and C, here's color B, and then color A is broken, hanging there. Color C we're going to join, and also leave a tail about the same length as color A. So we're joining colors B and C. We're knitting those together now. And then the tails of yarn are hanging. Knit 3, using colors B and C. Yarn over. And we're going to weave in ends as we go. So as I'm doing the knit 1, make 1 to last 4 stitches, I'm going to knit 1, and I'm going to take those tails of yarn, those broken tails of yarn, and I'm going to cross both of them on top of my working yarn, like that, as we do knit 1, make 1. There's the make 1. I'm just going to do this after the knit stitches. Knit 1, take both of those broken tails of yarn and cross them on top to weave in ends as you go. Make 1. We're doing knit 1, make 1 to last 4 stitches. Knit 1. If you hold the yarn in your right hand, you can let go and then cross those tails of yarn on top of your working yarn. That was the knit 1. Now make 1. Knit 1. And you can cross those tails of yarn on top to weave in ends as you go. Make 1. Knit 1. Do the Weavin Stephen, cross. Make 1. One, two, three, 4. We need to do another knit 1. And this is enough for the Weavin Stephen. That can be the last cross. And then make 1. You should now be at the last 4 stitches. You just did a make 1. Knit 1. Yarn over. Slip 3 with yarn in front. 1, 2, 3. Always make sure you've got the 2 colors together. Those count as 1 stitch. 1, 2, 3. And if you want to double check and make sure you did all your yarn overs and your knit 1, make 1, we have the knit 3, yarn over, knit 1, make 1, 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 knit 1, yarn over, slip 3. You should have 21 total stitches. Wrong side. Knit to last 3 stitches. And as you're knitting those make 1 increases, just be careful and make sure you get both strands of yarn. If it feels a little bit tight, you could loosen it first and then go into knit. And mohair, sometimes it has silk in it. It might be a little slippery. If a make 1 increase ever falls off your needle, uh-oh, you can just lift it right back onto the needle and make sure you knit it and twist it to give you that twisted make 1 effect. Knit to last 3 stitches. That yarn over will be the last stitch that you knit, and then slip 3 with yarn in front. 1, 2, 3. Row 5. Knit 3, yarn over, knit to last 3 stitches. When you reach the last 3 stitches, yarn over and slip 3 with yarn in front. Keep on bringing it around so the yarn is in front. You slip 3 with yarn in front, and you can see that yarn over on your right needle. That was row 5. Row 6, knit to last 3 stitches. You should have 23 stitches on your needles. And the fabric shouldn't feel too tight or super loose. My fabric feels a little on the loose side, which is nice. It gives you that beautiful drape. If your fabric is feeling really, really tight, you might need to go up a needle size. When you reach the last 3 stitches, slip 3 with yarn in front. And you can start to see that frothy garter stitch, and the colors are starting to shift and change. This is how my fabric looks. It's a little bit see-through, not too tight, not too loose. This is the fabric of garter stitch and what mine looks like up close. So you should see some space between the strands of yarn. There might be some little gaps, little holes, that's okay. It all adds to the drape and the frothiness of the shawl. After you finish row 6, break color B. This is my color B, so I'm just gonna trace it, make sure I'm breaking the right color of yarn. And when you break the yarn, you wanna leave a tail. About that long, about maybe 15 centimeters or so, about 6 inches or so. Break color B. And whenever I'm breaking my yarn, I'm gonna keep my colors in the same order. So I'm gonna do these 2 colors next. So whenever I broke color B, I'm gonna place it at the end of my color sequence over here so that my colors always remain, when I'm knitting my yarns, I'm always keeping them in order. And then after I break this yarn next, I'm gonna put it to the back. So I'm always keeping the colors in order. If you also want to write on the labels colors A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, that can help you keep track of which color is which. Alrighty. Row 7, we're going to use colors C and D. I've prepared color D. I've pulled that out from the center of the ball. This is my color D. So grab your new color and hold it at the beginning of your needle, leaving a tail. And then you want to make sure that that tail that you broke, you just broke color B, that's going to drop and hang together with that new color tail. And so for row 7, we're working colors C and D. There's colors C and D. Row 7, right side, using CD, knit 3, yarn over, knit to last 3 stitches. After I knit that stitch after the yarn over, this is when I'm going to start doing my Weavin Stephen, taking those tails of yarn, crossing them on top of my working yarn, after each knit stitch for about 8 to 10 stitches. I'm knitting to last 3 stitches while doing the Weavin Stephen. This is going to help keep your fabric nice and tidy, and you won't have to weave in many ends at the end of your project. If you hold the yarn in your right hand, you knit to the last 3 stitches, cross those tails of yarn on top of your working yarn. Knit and cross. Knit and cross. A few more times. I'm going to use this technique throughout the entire shawl so I don't have to weave in ends. Knit and cross. This is enough from here to here, but if you want to do a couple more, it doesn't hurt. knitting to last 3 stitches. All right, that's enough. Once you're done with that Weavin Stephen, just let those broken tails hang. And keep on knitting to last 3 stitches. Yarn over, slip the last 3 with yarn in front. 1, 2, 3. You should have 25 stitches after row 7. And this is what the wrong side looks like. When you do that Weavin Stephen, it looks like a little whip stitch. And then later you can just cut the yarn. And whenever you cut it, don't cut it too close to the fabric right there. Leave a little space and snip it right here. And that will catch the ends on the wrong side of the fabric. Row 8, wrong side. Knit to last 3 stitches. And rows 9 and 10 are also very easy knit rows. So I'm going to finish rows 8, 9, and 10, and then I'll see you for row 11. After row 10, you should have 27 total stitches. Break color C. This is my color C, and I broke it, leaving a tail of yarn. And then if you have some extra yarn hanging from the ball, you can just wrap it around to keep it tidy until the next time you have to work with that color. And that's going to keep it all together. And then I'm going to place that color in my color sequence. I'm going to place that at the end. I'm going to keep my colors in order. Or you could write your color names, color letters on the bands of the yarn if you want. We're going to use colors D and E for row 11. This is my color E, the new color. We're going to get some more purples going in. And if you reach into the inside of your ball and pull out a bit, you might get a little cluster of yarn like this. And then just be careful as you're pulling it out to find the end. Just be real delicate, and eventually you'll find the beginning. If you pull out a lot of yarn from the center, then you can wrap it around the ball like this so that your mohair doesn't get too tangled. It just takes a little bit of time to do this, but it's going to save you a lot of hassle from your yarns getting tangled later. So never pull abruptly when you're finding the beginning of the tail. Just be real gentle so you don't make any knots. Row 11, right side, using D and E. Here's the broken tail of yarn from, oh, here it is, from the last color. Join the new color. And then make sure you've got the tails of yarn coming from the balls. Row 11, right side. Knit 3. Yarn over. Knit 1, make 1 to last 4 stitches. After the knit stitches, I'm going to take my broken tails of yarn and do the Weavin Stephen. Make 1, knit 1, cross, and make 1, knit 1, make 1, knit 1, make 1, knit 1, cross, and make 1, knit 1, cross, make 1, knit 1, cross the tails of yarn on top, make 1. I'm going to do that just one more time. This is enough for the Weavin Stephen. And and then just let those broken tails of yarn hang down. Make one, knit one, make one to the last 4 stitches. If you want to do a yarn over instead of that make one technique, you could do knit one, yarn over, knit one, yarn over, knit one, yarn over, and that will give you more holes for your increases. I'm going to do the make one increase. Knit one, make one. When you reach the last 4 stitches, you just did a make one, knit one, yarn over, bring the yarn forward to slip 3 with yarn in front. 1, 2, 3. You should have 49 stitches on your needle. If you count your stitches, just be real careful that you're counting both colors of yarn as 1 stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you find yourself missing a stitch, that's most likely. You may have missed a make one increase or missed a yarn over at the edge. That's not a problem. If you find that you're 1 or 2 stitches off, or even a few stitches off, that's no problem. Just at the edge as you're knitting, I'm on row 12. Knit to last 3 stitches. Anywhere at the edge, if you just sneak in an extra make one increase, you can get back on track with your stitch count. So you could do that anywhere close to the edge. I'm knitting to the last 3 stitches, and if I need an extra stitch, anyway, you can just pick up a strand of yarn, any method you like, and do a make one like that. Or you could even go into the bump. I like to do a twist stitch, like knit through the front or knit through the back to twist the stitch so that it's a bit more invisible. But you can always sneak in an extra increase near the edge to get back on track with your stitch count. Make sure you have 49 stitches after rows 11 and 12. And then rows 13 and 14 are going to be real easy with knit stitches. Pay close attention to the pattern as you're breaking yarn. You break a color, 1 color after 4 rows. So you're going to break color D after row 14, and then follow all of the instructions as written. And these are all the techniques you need to know to knit this section. And then I'll meet you at the end of section 1, working 4 rows of each color combo as you melt, doing the fading marl technique with your 8 colors. This is section 1 completed. I just finished using colors H and A held together for my last 4 rows. After finishing row 30 of section 1, you should have 67 stitches at the end of this section, and I just broke color H. That was my darkest color for this palette. Break color H. This is what section 1 looks like completed. All of your colors are now worked as they melt together. And now we're going to begin section 2 with the bubbles. We're going to do an increase row, and then I'll show you the bubble technique. You can skip ahead using the timestamps linked down below if you want to watch that bubble stitch. Small bubbles, row 1, right side, using A and B. Color A is already attached from the end of section 1. And I'm just going to join color B together with it. Row 1, using AB, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, knit 1, make 1 to last 4 stitches. Knit 1, I'm going to do the Weavin Stephen cross. Knit 1, cross, make 1, knit one, cross, make one, knit one, make one, knit one, make one, knit one, make one, knit one, make one. That's enough of the Weavin Stephen if you're doing that. This is the key, I think, to having a nice, enjoyable shawl experience is keeping organized. So weaving in your ends as you go is going to make it nice and organized, and having your yarns in a layout of your color order. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. So having your colors in a nice order all the time, that organization is going to make it much more pleasant. And if at any time you don't like knitting from the inside of the ball, if it ever gets snagged or it feels like it gets caught when you're pulling it from the inside, then just go from the outside of the ball for the next time you use that color. And you can just pull that from the outside. There should be a strand easy to grab. And just knit from the outside of the ball if that's easier for you. Knit one, make one. Knit one, make one, to last 4 stitches. For this section 2, I really recommend to do the make one increase where it says make one. We're only going to do yarn overs at the edge, and let's do the make ones and not yarn overs in the body of the shawl, because that's going to make it look a little bit less holy, and it's going to flow beautifully. That make one increase is going to flow nicely into the stockinette stitch and your bubble texture. I'll see you at the end of row 6. Rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Pay close attention. You'll be knitting on the right side, but there's going to be some purl stitches on the wrong side to make this nice stockinette stitch very smooth. So this is the type of texture. This smooth stockinette stitch is what we're going to create for section 2. And check your stitch count. After row 1, we're going to have 129 stitches. If you don't have that stitch count, sneak in an extra increase at the edge. You could sneak in an extra yarn over or a make one anywhere near the edge to get back on track. And I'll see you after row 6. After row 6, you should have 133 stitches. Break color A. Row 7, using B and C. Get color C held together with your color B that is attached. And you want the broken tail of yarn and that new tail of yarn, the ends hanging. We're going to weave these tails of yarn in as we work row 7, doing the bubble stitch technique. Using B and C, knit 3, yarn over, knit 3. As you're doing this knit 3, do the Weavin Stephen, crossing those broken tails of yarn on top of the working yarn after each knit stitch. Knit 3, yarn over, knit 3, knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. Insert the right needle into the right side of the fabric by knitting into the middle of the stitch from 4 rows below. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 into the middle of the stitch from 4 rows below. Wrap the yarn around and pull it through. And then drop the strands of yarn above the stitch that you just knitted to create the bubble stitch. And I'm going to pull on those strands of yarn above that stitch that I just knitted to release those strands of yarn above that stitch, and that's going to make the bubble a puckered effect, kind of a gathered effect for the bubble stitch. That was knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. After you do that stitch, knit 3. 1, and I'm going to do the Weavin Stephen as I do these 3 knit stitches. 2, 3. We need to do the Weavin Stephen a little bit more as we work this row to weave in ends as we knit. Knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below, knit 3 to last 3 stitches. So this is a 4-stitch repeat. Knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below means go down 1, 2, 3, 4 rows below, knit into the middle of that stitch, wrap the yarn around and pull it through. And it can be kind of tight, not too loose. And then drop that stitch. And with the mohair, it can be a little bit sticky, so I like to use my right needle to pull on those ladders, those stitches above the stitch I just knit, to unravel them. And then they come down to that location where you knitted down below. Knit 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's do the bubble stitch for you English style knitters, holding the yarn in your right hand. That was the bubble stitch, and you knit 3. Again, knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. Start counting here. Don't start counting the stitch on your needle. Count this space just below the stitch on your needle as number 1, 2, 3, 4 rows below. Dive into the middle of the stitch. Make sure you have the working yarn. Wrap it around the right needle and pull it through. And then drop the stitch above. So drop the strands of yarn above that stitch that you just knitted. And you can pull it a bit tight, so it doesn't need to be very loose. You want it to gather. And that's enough of the Weavin Stephen that I just did. We were weaving in our ends as we went. If you want to do it a few more times, you can. Otherwise, just drop that yarn and we can cut it later. Weaving in ends as you go. All right, that was knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. Knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert the right needle into the middle of that stitch. Wrap the yarn around and pull it through. Drop the strands of yarn above it. And use your needle to help unravel that column above the stitch. 1, 2, 3, and knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't forget to drop the strands of yarn above it and use your needle to encourage them to unravel. The mohair is a bit sticky, so sometimes the fibers might catch, so you could use that right needle just to untangle any fluffy effects that occur. 1, 2, 3. Knit into the stitch from 4 rows below. 1, 2, 3, 4. You knitted into the middle of that stitch. Drop the strands of yarn above it. Unravel them. And keep on going. For you continental style knitters, knit 3. Knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wrap the yarn around and pull it through. Drop the strands of yarn above. And you can pull it tight before you do those next 3 stitches. Knit 3. Knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. Drop the yarn and unravel it. Knit 3. keep on doing that to last 3 stitches. Knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. Knit 3. Knit 1 into the stitch from 4 rows below. I'm using my right needle to take that stitch off so that it drops down and I can unravel it. It's getting a little caught there, so just, if it doesn't unravel all the way down, that's okay. It doesn't have to do it every single time. As long as most of the time it unravels, you're going to start to get this bubble gathering that happens in the fabric. So that's the bubble technique for this small bubble section. We're going to work 6 rows of each color combination. So follow the rows as written. Rows 7, 8, 9, 10, and then rows 11 and 12 are repeating rows 9 and 10 once more. And then you'll break color B and replace it with color C. And this is what the bubbles are going to look like up close. Colors A and B, B and C, C and D, D and E. And you notice that the bubbles stagger. So the next time, this was the first time you did the bubble stitch, the next time you do the bubble stitch, it's going to be in the middle. So if this was the first bubble stitch, what I just showed you on the row, the next one is going to be in a little bit of a different location. And then after that, it'll be into the same column. So you see how the bubble technique, that's what makes the bubble. It staggers. Every other time you work that bubble row, every 6 rows, it's going to be in a slightly different location every other time. So make sure it looks similar to this, making that beautiful gather in the fabric. And the wrong side is also really fascinating. Look at the wrong side of those small bubbles. I think this is equally beautiful, showing that gather, and you get this kind of an X crisscross effect on the wrong side. And these are the medium bubbles. We're knitting 8 rows of each color combo, and then 10 rows of each color combo for the large bubbles. So here are the small bubbles here. We're going to work all 8 colors for the small bubbles, and all 8 colors again will flow into the medium bubbles. And look at those large bubbles. Really big and beautiful. The difference between the small and the medium and the large bubbles are more rows are knitted in stockinette stitch of each color. And then you'll notice for the medium bubbles, it will say knit into the stitch from 6 rows below instead of 4 rows below. So for the medium bubbles later on in the pattern, when you count 6 rows below, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and insert the needle further down. And the large bubbles, you're going to go down 8 rows below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you'll go down even further. But there's more rows knitted. So for the large bubbles, there's 10 rows knitted. So whenever you're knitting down into the stitch from 8 rows below for the large bubbles, it's always going to be into the 2nd row of your new color combo. So you'll start a new color combo, knit 10 rows in stockinette stitch to make a color block that long. And when you go down 8 rows below, you'll be going down into the 2nd row of that previous color combo. But just count with your needle. When you go down 4 rows, you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where you insert the needle. 6 rows below, you'll be counting 2 more further down. 8 rows below, 2 more further down. And that just makes the more drastic, exaggerated gather. So those are all the bubble techniques, and I hope you love knitting them as much as I do. And again, don't worry if as you're dropping the strands of yarn above that bubble stitch, if they don't all drop and unravel, it's okay. The most important thing is you're knitting below and getting that gathered kind of a pucker, a stitch that makes this beautiful scallop. So now that you have your Awesomer Gossamer Shawl started, you can do the bubble stitch, all of those I-cord techniques, and weaving in your ends as you knit. And that's what it looks like on the wrong side. So keep on going. Those are all the techniques you need to know to knit the shawl. And I linked a bind-off tutorial as well for you at the end of the pattern. So keep on going and you'll get this beautiful transition from garter stitch melting into small bubbles. The medium bubbles work with all 8 colors, the large bubbles with all 8 colors, and finally that big chevron border. I just love the gradient effect with mohair. It really liquefies the stitches and gives you that hazy blended quality in the fabric. So get inspired in your stash, dive into those mohair colors. You can collect a kit. Those are at Stephen and Penelope, and we'll be knitting along all throughout February for this first annual glow along. So share your progress on Instagram. We're gonna use the hashtag Awesomer Gossamer Shawl for your posts on Instagram. And for the glow along, you can also use the hashtag GAL2025 for glow along. And on Ravelry, there's a Ravelry group set up as well. So I'll link those groups and those hashtags down below for you to share your progress. And I can't wait to see how these mohair colors transform. So let me know what color palettes you're knitting with for the glow along. And if you're looking for the pattern, you can participate just by getting the pattern using any yarn you like. And those will be on Ravelry and westknits.com for the Awesomer Gossamer download. Lots of fun bubbles, mohair marls, and we're gonna have a lot of fun knitting throughout February, ending on March 6th, but embrace your own pace. So knit at your own speed, but we'll have an official closing to the knit along with some giveaways right around March 6th at the beginning of March. So happy mohair knitting, and I'll see y'all later.